That's part of having a service dog, right? They're not perfect, so they're gonna make mistakes.
It was harder to train me than to train Shadow. Shadow has been quite a natural because, well, Karin is a great trainer, but it's the human. Excuse me, I'm speaking.
I'm Karin Wagemann, and I'm the owner and head trainer of 9 Realms Canine Training, specializing in police canines and service dogs. Hi, Mabel. So I went to Carroll College in Helena, Montana, and I got a degree in anthrozoology, and anthrozoology is the study of the human-animal bond. I then proceeded to do some online schooling through London Hanover University, and I got a master's degree in canine behavioral sciences. When I went to college, we got to foster a dog for a year, and for that year, it was a rescue dog. You got to train the dog in whatever sort of behaviors you wish to train the dog for. So I decided to train that dog in narcotics detection as well as service tasks. So we did tasks such as walking next to a wheelchair, picking up objects, pressing handicap buttons, going and finding help, sound alerts for people who maybe are hard of hearing, and that dog learned all of those tasks as I was learning to teach all of those tasks. So that's where I got my start in the service dog world. And then when I started the business, I realized the need for people who are owner training their own service dogs. Service dogs are very expensive, right? And not a lot of people can afford to go get one. And the wait list for program dogs where you get a dog for free is sometimes 5 years. So it's just not realistic sometimes to get a program dog. But if you have a really nice dog and you're willing to do the training yourself, you can partner with a trainer like myself and learn and owner train your dog. So that's when I really started getting into helping people like Elodie train her own dog for service work.
I wanted him to be a service dog, but Karin from 9 Realms interviewed him, so to speak, and evaluated him, and she saw the potential in him, and that's how she took him on as a client. It took us a year with intensive training with Karin one-on-one, so this boy went from almost being put down to rescue to service dog.
Want to grab the wallet? Stay. Okay, bring. Atta girl, bring it here. Good job, Maple. The Americans with Disability Act only states that a service dog is a service dog if it's task trained to help mitigate a handler with a disability. No sort of certification is required, and people who say my dog is service dog certified, usually it's a little bit of a red flag, but you can still have a dog that's certified through an organization, performing tasks, right, helping its handler, and it's a legit dog. You really want to look for a dog that's focused on their handler. You don't want a dog that's more interested in the world that's going on, other animals, or a dog that just doesn't really care about their people. So you look for a dog that already has a bond, right? And that's the first thing I ask. How do you feel your bond is with your dog? And if they're like, he doesn't care about me, usually a red flag. And then we're testing to see if the dog's social in public, if they're fine with other people, if they're fine with other dogs, if they're nervous in new environments. If they are, they're not going to make a good service dog. And then from there, you start your training with basic obedience, start adding in tasks and advanced obedience. And actually along the way is generally when you start to see whether or not the dog's truly going to make it. So you can do all your initial evaluation, dog can look fine, and then as you start to train, the dog's like, I don't like this career, it's not for me. And then you have some dogs that you start and you're like, well, it doesn't look great. And then they really start to blossom and you're like, oh, you made it, look at that, you're doing great. Take it, take it. So Maple is about 1.5 years, almost 2, yellow lab. She was donated by a lovely Labrador Retriever breeder out here at 6 months of age. And she's been puppy raised by some good folks and friends of mine for the past 1.5 years. And she is going off to Texas with her handler, who is an 18-year-old girl in a wheelchair. So she's trained to pick up objects, open cabinets, go get help, press the handicap button, help her take off her jacket, take off shoes, turn on lights, you name it, she's trained to do. And this is probably one of those 1 in a million dogs. Every trainer says, you know, like, there's those dogs that really change your life that you know are really, really special. And this is one of those dogs, definitely. That Maple heel. Maple understands her heel command incredibly well, right? And she heel, backs up with it, she goes forward, heel, and she turns nicely so that heel. Her person who's in a wheelchair, right, isn't having to constantly use her leash to guide her around. She's just using her verbal or her body position, heel, to move the dog around with her. Atta girl. So dogs that work with either people that have autism or children that have autism have a very tough mentally, in a way that like all of that emotion that's coming through their handler or that child isn't going to affect them. They're not going to absorb that, but they're also able to pick up on that person's needs and desires and then go and assist them, comfort them. So there's this fine line between overly stressed about your handler, right, and not paying enough attention. And these dogs, they pick up on either physical movements that their handlers are doing or just their voice inflections. So Maple wouldn't make a good autism service dog, even though she's already a trained service dog for somebody else, because she's too sensitive. She picks up on all of her handler's emotions and she takes them in, which makes her a good dog in that she picks up on it and she goes and she assists them, she sits by their lap, she naturally alerts, but then she starts to become anxious and insecure, and over time she needs her own service dog, right? So you have to have a dog that feels those emotions that the handler's feeling, but then also isn't constantly absorbing them and becoming stressed as well. So I think that's the real special thing about autism service dogs.
I can take him where I go without any problems. Life is less scary with Shadow in it, and I do have a constant partner.
I've always wanted to help people, so it just seemed like the logical fit when I first stumbled upon service dog as a young kid. I love seeing every minute that I see these dogs change people's lives. That's really what I live for, and that's why I do it.